When Arthur Rothstein arrived in Washington to join the Farm Security Administration in 1935, they called him the Kid from the Bronx. He was just 20. Raised in the Bronx, he was born in Manhattan. New York City, with its bustle of people, the stimulation of everything coming at you all at once, was madness, but he must have loved it. He called himself a provincial New Yorker, and at 20 he knew nothing of America beyond the Hudson. All that would change. If he had thought poverty was only an urban problem, he would see how dead wrong he was once he got on the road with a camera, free from the city's distractions. In 1935, the country was on the ropes, and he was supposed to photograph it. Well, there were great advantages, of course, in being a provincial New Yorker, because everything seemed fresh and exciting. We had a group of people there that were being moved out to make way for a national park, Shenandoah National Park, and these were people who lived in the hills and hollows of the Blue Ridge Mountains, not far from Washington, about 80 miles. I went out there and lived in a cabin on top of a mountain for a few weeks, walked around and became acquainted with these people. At the beginning, they were very shy about having pictures taken, but I would carry my camera along and make no attempt to take pictures. They just got to know me, and finally, they didn't mind if I took a few pictures. Arthur Rothstein. I took quite a few unusual pictures at that time, using a Leica camera and a technique that is almost standard now. A technique that I developed out of necessity all by myself, which I call the unobtrusive camera. The idea of becoming so much a part of the environment that the people aren't even aware that pictures are being taken. I did it out of necessity. It was the only way I could get these pictures, you see. The purpose of the project was to photograph these people who were going to be moved out and photograph them in such a way that you had some idea of how they lived and what they did, because their entire way of life was going to be destroyed. They were going to be taken out of this environment and moved into shiny new houses where they would no longer have the picturesque quality that they had living in the hills. This record I made, I think, served a very useful purpose. It showed how a certain group of people in the United States lived at a particular time, and they no longer exist. I think that has a great deal of value. Some of the pictures I made were good enough to be considered fairly fine examples of photography. But before I went out, I had long discussions with Roy Stryker about what I was going to do and what I was going to show. Roy was the one who made me aware of the fact that there is a great deal of significance in small details. He'd made me aware of the fact that it was important, say, to photograph the corner of a cabin, showing an old shoe and a bag of flour. Or it was important to get a close-up of a man's face. And it was important to show a window stuffed with rags. He made me conscious of all these things, and I just went out and did them. I enjoyed doing them, and in the process of doing them, I developed a certain sense of design and order and composition, and combined that with the use of a miniature camera, which at the time was only 6 or 7 years old. Arthur Rothstein. Orphaned boys frequently walk the roads alone in search of work. Adults beat these youngsters to scare them away from applying for jobs. To get work, boys had to appear strong, mature, and competent. They often worked under the same brutal conditions as adults. FSA portrait photographs, most notably those by Dorothea Lange, relied on the posed shot. Arthur Rothstein was also able to capture candid shots of people in context, a talent he would exploit later in his career as a photojournalist. We had a great social responsibility. This was one thing that we all had in common. We were dedicated to the idea that our lives can be improved, that man is the master of his environment, and that it's possible for us to live a better life, not only materially, but spiritually as well. We were all tremendously socially conscious. Arthur Rothstein.